Hey, have you heard about that baby that ran away from home? Yeah, the one that never wanted to grow up. Yeah, the immortal flying child. That's the one, yeah. How's it going, and welcome to True Story, the show where we talk about any truth behind any rumors, stories, legends, and folklore. I'm your host, Abraham Bravo, and if you haven't pieced it together yet, today we're talking about Peter Pan, the immortal flying child who likes to take kids away to the land of never growing up. Something you probably didn't know about this flying kid is that he has a bit of a dark side. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about where Peter Pan originally started. Peter Pan was created by a man named J.M. Barrie. Peter Pan's first appearance was inside an adult novel titled The Little White Bird. After the release of The Little White Bird, there was a play dedicated entirely to Peter Pan. This caused J.M. Barrie to write the full story of Peter Pan, which he titled Peter and Wendy. Barrie had said that he based Peter Pan on his brother. His brother had died in an ice skating accident right before he turned 14 years old. Going back to the intro of this video where I said that there was a baby that ran away from home, that is exactly how Peter Pan started. He found an open window at his house, decided to crawl out of it, all while he was a baby. He eventually later came back a few years later just to find that his parents had a new baby. This caused Peter Pan to believe that his parents had replaced him and no longer wanted him. Now, Peter Pan's family does not stop there. Peter Pan actually has a little bit more of an extended family, his own family, to be precise. We all know Peter Pan as the immortal flying child that likes to take kids away to the land of never growing up, but at one point Peter Pan actually does admit that he wanted to grow up just to be a father. And it is at this point that his companion Wendy has already grown up, and she's even got a granddaughter named Moira. Moira being the girl that Peter falls in love with. Peter renounces his immortality just to be with Moira, and later they have two kids together, Jack and Maggie. And because Peter spent so much time in Neverland, he kind of maintained much of who he is, even in adulthood. This meant that he was constantly away and broke a lot of his promises to Moira. This caused Moira to be very, very upset with him, and Jack without father. And Jack was desperately looking for a father figure, which he found in Captain Hook. Maggie, however, still had faith that Peter would come through for them. And eventually he does when Maggie and Jack are both captured by Captain Hook, and Peter comes to rescue them in Neverland. Now, I did say Peter had a very dark side to him. This dark side meaning that when the kids that he would take to Neverland would grow up, he would kill them because growing up is against the rules. Here's a quote from the book that J.M. Barrie wrote. "The boys on the island vary, of course, in numbers, according as they get killed and so on. And when they seem to be growing up, which is against the rules, Peter thins them out." Now, I don't know about you, but this is a scary, scary thought if you were to meet Peter Pan. And not only that, but if you look into what the quote is saying, you can realize that death is something very real that happens in Neverland. How would the death come by? I don't know, maybe an animal, maybe the war that's going on between Peter and Captain Hook? Just a thought. Here's why I think that. The first part of the quote says, "The boys on the island vary, of course, in numbers, according as they get killed and so on." If that was referring to what Peter does to them, then the quote wouldn't really need this next bit. "And when they seem to be growing up, which is against the rules, Peter thins them out." So the kids face a possible death fighting Captain Hook, and they face a more certain death sticking around with Peter Pan as they grow older. It's often rumored and speculated that Captain Hook was also one of the kids that Peter Pan took away to Neverland, but then he got older, and so Peter Pan had to kill him, so Captain Hook escaped. And ever since then he's been trying to save the children, but who would want to go with an adult when they would rather go with a magical flying boy that tells them that parents can't tell them what to do anymore? I couldn't find anything to back this claim up, seeing as how I couldn't find any credible sources and I didn't give myself that much time to actually look for it. But you guys can look for it if you want. I'm leaving some links to where I found the stuff that I talked about today down in the description down below. And now that's not the only twisted thing that happens in this book. There's a part where Peter Pan takes the kids to Neverland and has to give them a tree. So he has to measure them. Here is a quote from the book on that. Peter measures you for your tree as carefully as for a suit of clothes, the only difference being that the clothes are made to fit you, while you have to be made to fit the tree. If you are bumpy in an awkward place, Peter does something to you to make you fit. That's a very uncomfortable thought. But hey, that's Peter Pan, a character that started in an adult novel and had a very, very twisted storyline. Storyline of which got kind of glossed over when Disney decided to make a film out of it, which I'm very glad for, because can you imagine how many kids would have grown up thinking that they were going to get murdered by Peter Pan instead of thinking that they could go off to Neverland and never grow up? I'd rather take the latter. But I'd like to know your thoughts on this. After learning all of this, has his image changed for you in any way? If it has, let me know in the comments down below. And if it hasn't, also let me know in the comments down below. If you like the show, show me some support by clicking that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. But until then, my name is Abraham Bravo. True story.